Hey everybody, welcome to episode 53 of the Metal Detecting Show podcast. My name is Kieran and I have been metal detecting for nearly 30 years. This week I want to discuss with you my first monster giveaway, and I get deep into ground balance with, of course, some updates from my world of metal detecting. So let's get on with the show. Hey everyone, before we start I want to thank you for listening to the podcast and I hope you enjoy the show this week. But before we begin, I want to give you the following information. If you want to give me feedback or interact with the show, please reach out to me on Twitter at DetectingThe or Instagram at The Metal Detecting Podcast, or if you want to pop me an email to Kieran at themetaldetectingshow.com. And now, if you'd like to leave me a voicemail, please do so on speakpipe.com/The Metal Detecting Show. The link will be in the show notes. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so now through several avenues. Firstly, if you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/metal detecting. If that's not your thing, you can support the podcast over on Patreon. Just search for the Metal Detecting Show. And now, if you're looking to purchase any new equipment, I would appreciate it if you did so via kellycodedetectors.com using the affiliate link in the show notes. It will cost you nothing, but I will get a small percentage of your sale for sending you their way. This revenue gets reinvested into the show and goes some way towards keeping the show alive, covering hosting and equipment costs. And lastly, and most importantly, if you like this content, please don't hesitate to tell your friends and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hi all, I hope you are awash with gold, and if not gold, then at least some silver. Firstly, my adventures in metal detecting this week resulted in me finding a new spot to hunt within my 5k zone. Another harbour beach spot where all the finds are generally toast, but I have to say I only got about 90 minutes in as Ireland were playing England in the rugby, and I wanted to make sure I got to see that. But finds also started to come up, giving me the warm fuzzies of a great sight, and it was then I thought, this spot is so good, I don't want to keep hunting it. Has that ever happened to you? That a spot is so good that you thought, I need to slow down here lads, so I can drag it out as long as possible, just so you can enjoy it more. Needless to say, I'll be back there this weekend, tide and weather permitting. So, onto the topic a lot of you have been waiting for, and that's ground balance. I'm only joking. I am of course talking about the show's first giveaway. So the intention was to do a giveaway for only my subscribers, but I don't know who you are. Podcasting is not like YouTube, where you know who your subscribers are, and all you have to do is tell them to subscribe and pop a comment in the comment section to enter the draw. And don't forget to smash that like button. Unfortunately, with podcast, I only know the people who interact with the show and no one else. I don't even know how many subscribers I have. All I can tell you is I get just over 1,000 listeners each week, and from my best guess, I have about 660 subscribers. Because of this ambiguity, and the fact the price of the prize is quite large at approximately $600, I felt it was best and probably the most fairest to employ a third-party service to manage the draw, and that service is King Sumo. So how it'll work is you will click the link in the show notes below, which will bring you to a web form where you can enter the draw by entering your email, and that's it, you're entered. However, King Sumo has another cool feature that if you complete certain tasks, you get more entries. For example, if you subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or Spotify, you get 5 more entries to the draw. And don't worry if you have already subscribed. Once you click the link, it'll detect that you already have subscribed and you'll get your 5 entries anyways. Also, by using King Sumo, I can guarantee that I comply to all social media terms and conditions, which you can read on the web form as well if you wish. So the draw will run from now, on release of this episode, today, to the 23rd of April at 3 p.m. UTC plus 0 hours. So that's 4 weeks for you to get your entries in. King Sumo will announce the winner at 3 p.m. UTC plus 0 the following day on April the 24th. I won't be doing any live stream or live draw. I will rely on this third party to do a fair and random draw. So, what prize are you entering for? Well, as you may or may not have known, a great prize happened to come into my possession really, and that's the MindLab Equinox 600 valued at approximately $600. So I am putting up this brand new, never used Equinox 600 still in box. I'll also include a new copy of the Equinox series by Andy Sabish, or otherwise known as the Equinox Bible, and I'm not finished, I'll add in some merch from the podcast as well. So a great prize, which I will ship to anywhere in the world, and the draw is open to anybody in the world. So the winners get a great prize, but for clarity, what do I get out of it? Well, I get to see how many subscribers I have. I'm assuming every one of you will enter. I get to promote the podcast across all social media and YouTube, which can only help the podcast reach more people and get better as a result. This is an experiment. If it's a success, I'll make it a regular feature of the podcast, as it may be better to spend money on prizes for draws rather than Facebook ads. So, click on the link below. It's just there. Go on, do it. I know you want to. Best of luck, everybody. So on to today's topic, and that's ground balance. The oft-forgotten red-haired child of Detector features, ground balance. You can't talk about ground balance without first discussing mineralization. So to put it simply, mineralization or mineralized soil is soil that can have a negative effect on the performance of your detector. It can cause your detector's depth to shorten, cause target ID to be off, and cause target masking of small finds under the coil. Some people refer to mineralized ground as hot ground and as having a large iron content, with iron oxide particles giving this ground a reddish colour. Just look at the goldfields of Australia for an example of this. In fact, mineralized soil or ground is dirt that has a large percentage of magnetic susceptible particles or salts such as ferrites and hematites. These magnetic susceptible particles cause your detector to react in a similar fashion as it would with a normal find. The more magnetic susceptible particles, the greater the EMF fog created in the receiver coil. So, to be clear, mineralized soil acts just like a normal find on your detector, in that it creates a signal in the receive coil which the detector has to process and handle. Think of it like driving your car in the fog with your full headlights on. The field of view, resolution and distance you can see ahead is drastically handicapped. But what do you do in the fog? You switch on your low beams and go a little slower. This is essentially what ground balance does. It alters the detector to best see in the fog of mineralized or hot ground. So how does it do this? Well, I think the easiest way to describe how it works is that it is a separate discrimination program that runs alongside the normal operating program, discriminating out the noise from the mineralized ground. To get even more complicated, consider that your detector operates across several frequencies and these signals are pumped into the ground. What is received is one signal at any one time, and when there is no metal under the ground, under your coil, you're essentially receiving a signal from the ground, and this signal is affected depending on how much magnetic susceptible particles are in the ground. The received signal is shifted in proportion to how much magnetic susceptible particles are in the dirt. The received signal is said to be out of phase or shifted out of phase. The closer to 180 degrees out of phase the received signal is, the more magnetic susceptible particles are in the ground, or the more mineralized it is. A brief take time out on what phase means. From the CWNA definition of phase version 106, phase is not a property of just one signal, but instead involves the relationship between two or more signals that share the same frequency. The phase involves the relationship between the position of the amplitude crests and troughs of two waveforms. Phase can be measured in distance, time, or degrees. If the peak of two signals with the same frequency are in exact alignment at the same time, they are said to be in phase. Conversely, if the peaks of two signals with the same frequency are not in exact alignment at the same time, they are said to be out of phase. So, in our example, the magnetic susceptible particles cause the received signal to be out of phase with the transmitted signal, and a separate discrimination program is tuned either automatically, manually, or is pre-programmed in the factory to filter out the phase-shifted signal. Most beginner detectors come pre-programmed or fixed-tuned for ground balance, while most intermediate to advanced detectors allow you to manually or automatically ground balance. Top tip: if you are using manual ground balance, make sure to check it periodically, but be careful. Overuse of manual ground balance can have the same effect on the thing you're trying to remove, mineralized soil, giving the same results like your target ID being off and your depth being shortened. I prefer to use auto ground balance and pump my detector every time I start a hunt, even though I probably don't need to, as most of my hunting grounds are of low mineralization. But I do it anyways, and especially if I move hunting areas. Do you hunt on hot ground? Do you need to use ground balance? Or are you like me and only use it just in cases? That's it for this week. I hope you liked this episode of the Metal Detecting Show podcast. Check out our website www.metaldetectingshow.com for this episode's show notes. Check out our Patreon page if you want to help the podcast stay alive or just want to buy me a coffee. Actually, if you want to buy me a coffee, you can do so now at buymeacoffee.com/metaldetecting. If you'd like to leave me a voicemail, please do so on speakpipe.com/The Metal Detecting Show. The link will be in the show notes. And if you feel like taking your appreciation to the next level, feel free to leave me a positive review on any podcast directory of your choice. If you like this content and would like more, please don't hesitate to tell your friends, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will chat to you all again next week. Get out there, eyes down, and happy hunting.